Trust in the Age of AI. I'm 𝐀𝐿 Reddy, CEO, co-founder of 𝐷𝐿. Just like how DocuSign changed how signature handling was done, 𝐷𝐿 is transforming verification in the age of AI. And we are joined today by incredible panelists where we are going to be talking about going beyond the trophy, talking about authenticity, humanity, and digital awards. Welcome, Evan. Welcome, Russ. I'm so excited to have you on this series. You both bring such interesting, such fascinating perspectives. Evan is a B2B tech influencer, followed by the likes of Mark Benioff from Salesforce, Michael Dell, Jim Cramer, and more. Russ is a marketer at core and now focused on the business of recognition. How fascinating is that? And we're going to delve deeper into that aspect as well. And if I just step back about why this topic is so important, we are in an economy that is really recognition staffed, whether it's in workplace or in life. And you add in the Gen Z factor where recognition really matters. And there are all kinds of stats where Deloitte says that employee recognition lowers voluntary turnover by 31%. Nielsen says that businesses experience a 37% increase in customer inquiries and a 41% growth, revenue growth after being recognized for industry excellence. So that's on one side. And on the other side, you have stats like 30% of everything on LinkedIn, on resumes and digital awards are all fake. How do we connect these two dots? All right, let's jump right into the conversation. Evan, love for you to start with. Let's start with just getting to know both of you. Tell us about your journey. Tell us about the journey to becoming the B2B mega influencer that you are today.
Oh, thanks so much for the question. And it started small. I would say as a kid, my first computer was a Radio Shack TRS-80. And, as a kid, that got me hooked for gaming, for coding in BASIC, if anyone remembers what that was, and for connecting to, before the internet, we had something called bulletin boards. And so, that was the start of a lifelong obsession, fascination, love of tech. And from there, professionally, I've spent 35 years in the enterprise and telecom arena, working for startups and big tech firms. In the last 10 years or so, an independent thought leader, analyst, content creator, influencer, podcaster, live streamer. So I've continued my tech obsession and managed to collaborate with, amazing folks like yourselves on this call and brands and startups and innovators in the tech industry. So really thrilled to be here.
And Evan, if we fast forward to the end of this, say 45-minute segment, what do you hope that what is one key message, or what do we hope that we cover in our time together?
I hope if you're listening or watching, you participate in this amazing community that we've created here, and participate from a engagement standpoint on social. If you're an innovator, a startup, a product builder, bring forward your solution, your app, your service, your device to the awards program, and join us for the ride. We're really excited about this program and in highlighting the folks who may not get in the spotlight that often, but who have amazing product, services, and other kinds of inventions to share.
Well, awesome. And so everyone listening, feel free to chime in, talk about maybe a recognition that really mattered to you, or talk about someone who deserves recognition. And by the way, if you just want to tell us where you're calling in from and what the temperature is there, because that was a conversation before we started, do that too. All right. So Russ, over to you. Tell us about your journey.
Well, 𝐀𝐿, thank you for having me and Evan on your show. It's really a pleasure to be here. I started 13 years ago, which baffles me, as a B2B marketer in high tech. So I've been following Evan for quite a few years. And 13 years ago, I decided to break out a little bit on my own and have a little side hustle of an awards program. And all these years later, we have 10 awards programs under my brand, and we're building awards programs for other people and helping people, really recognize their communities. And so that's why we launched the We Love Tech Awards with Evan, is really to kind of celebrate the innovation in tech that he sees, and all the enterprises out there that really kind of go unrecognized most of the time. And so we're trying to change that.
Awesome. And what is your key message? What do you want people to take away at the end of this 45 minutes together?
You know, we've built these worlds, this online world that takes us further and further apart from each other and makes us secluded and keeps us in our houses and remote work. And we really do have to get back together and start building those communities again in new ways. And LinkedIn's a great way. Social media is a great way as long as you're safe. And it's really important. I think the title of this session really says it, is really finding the authenticity. There's a lot of junk out there and there's a lot of misleading stuff. As marketers, we know this because sometimes we're a little misleading. But really finding the authenticity is really important, and connecting that person to a recognition or to an achievement long term is really kind of the goal out of this session for me.
Awesome. Well, you spoke about the We Love Tech Awards, so let's jump right into it. Evan, Russ, tell us what drove the We Love Tech Awards. What's the goal?
Well, of course, I love tech and I'm obsessed with tech, and not just gadgets and devices, but in enterprise tech, the services and the applications that make our life more productive, the useful applications, services, devices, products that we know and love. And I, together with Russ, wanted to put a spotlight on those and bring forward some of the folks who are developing tech for good, not just for productivity in the workplace, but for personal, professional good, for health, for wellness, digital health, and wearables, and put a spotlight on those companies, those innovators, those founders who are developing products and solutions and services that do have utility and use and value to individuals and organizations and society as a whole. Of course, we see big tech in the news every day. They get plenty of attention, plenty of spotlight on them. But as we saw even from CES, even cutting out the hype and some of the buzz, there are so many companies developing great tech these days that deserve more spotlight, more recognition, more awareness. And we wanted to, create an awards, but also a community around those companies.
Those are two just such important aspects of what you're creating, Evan. One is the awards and one is the community. Let's talk on the award side. Like, what kind of companies? Are there companies recently that have been exciting you that should make their way into these awards, at least from an application perspective? And then, of course, the best will bubble up.
Well, I hope companies in the digital health and wearables and patient monitoring, patient support areas, AI and Gen AI is changing everything, including the way we think about health, wellness, and healthcare in general. So I really hope that the innovators and startups in this space in that area come forward. We saw hundreds of them at CES, and I won't get into name products and solutions there, but there's so many to be discovered. And these aren't companies that are on the front page of USA Today or the Wall Street Journal. They're companies that are being built from the ground up with a focus on patients and doctors and physicians, hospitals, healthcare, and they deserve a voice. As someone who spent 30 years in the enterprise, we all know how challenging it is to work in the enterprise, and there are a whole suite of new applications that are giving us employees and managers, leaders, superpowers when it comes to productivity, when it comes to customer engagement, customer support, customer care, and helping customers, both as marketeers and practitioners. And I hope all those applications in customer experience, customer care come to the fore. And just AI in general, again, we've seen the hype with ChatGPT, but there are so many interesting and useful, extraordinary applications that are being built on top of AI and Gen AI that are bringing real use, utility, and value. And we want to highlight some of those startups as well. So it's a very broad initiative, but I think it's the innovators, the pirates, as Steve Jobs, called them, that we want to shout out to.
Is the focus startups or is it across the spectrum?
I think it's really across the spectrum. Even within big companies, there are silos of real creativity and innovation, business units that are doing amazing work. toiling away silently, sometimes without much recognition. And then, of course, the startups are always interesting. And, America is based on, not just big tech companies, but thousands of businesses, hundreds of thousands, millions when you look at micro businesses. And so much innovation is there. We want to find some of the best and the brightest to put a spotlight on.
Awesome. Let's talk about the community side of things. And even as I look at the title, Beyond the Trophy, Authenticity, Humanity, and Digital Awards, to me, that community and that humanity goes together so beautifully. Russ, how does that manifest itself?
We have developed this platform over those 13 years, and I said it earlier to somebody, is the biggest surprise to me in this business is the community of it all, and our judges have formed this just outstanding community to help all these businesses, and so we've got thousands of judges now on staff, basically, who score and read and analyze and provide feedback for these nominations. And they've developed their own little community themselves. You'll see them on LinkedIn congratulating each other and showing their certificates and showing award badges of their own. And so it's really taken off in that regard of just people kind of doing good for others, which has been kind of I don't know, if I wish I had the heart sparkling too. So maybe you guys could do it for me. But that's been the biggest surprise, and this the biggest thrill for me is just it was something that was never expected. And all the social tools we have now just allow us to build, greater communities, and we're working on that even more. And so that's been really the highlight of this whole effort for us. And the judges and the people that are judging our programs are more than happy to lend their expertise to these efforts, because they want to know these stories too. They want to know how great these companies are and who's doing cool stuff. And it's certainly an awesome way to learn about companies and the products and the people that are building them.
Wonderful. And it's so special, Russ, that in your program, you're not just recognizing the winners, but you also recognize the jury community, and with Authentic Digital Awards.
It is what I call, or not I call, a lot of people call, and it's an emerging trend of this value for value model, where we're getting value out of the expertise that the judges are providing, and then they're getting value out of the brand and out of the the community we're building, and out of the props we're giving and shout outs we're giving to them. So it is just this trade system that really is just it's a beautiful part of humanity, really. It's been such a surprise and such a delight.
Awesome. And maybe we'll actually spotlight these beautiful badges that you're giving to the jury. So if we could just bring that up to tie in how community, authenticity, and digital awards come together. This is the All-Star Judge Award for Karen. It's not just an image. It's actually on the blockchain ledger. Karen can share it with one click on LinkedIn, on her anywhere, resume, anywhere, and it's verifiable with one click. So one click share, one click verification all across the globe, and also for the winners. So not just for the judges, but for the winners. And by the way, these are not just 2D, 3D animation. You can have digital replicas of physical trophies. So just to give you a snapshot of how that might look like, we'll go to the next slide very quickly. And as you'll see, you can have a red carpet die, and maybe we'll get some big loves there again. And you can associate all kinds of engagement. We are going from what you might think of the paradigm of how we went from black and white TV to color TV in the world of digital awards. That's one big trend. How is it that you authenticate these awards and make them globally verifiable is the other big trend that we want to showcase here. And so we'll go back then to Evan, going to you. What are you seeing? What are you seeing in terms of trends, in terms of recognition, trophies, and this topic of authenticity, humanity, and digital awards?
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, as Russ kind of alluded to, not to be a negative Nelly, but there is a lot of fraud, of fakery, of frankly poor marketing, deception out there, and there is a need for the good folks out there to counter that with authentic, verified, validated awards that recognize true innovation and tech for good. And, this is a little drop in the ocean, of course, but it's a step in that kind of direction. Where, the judges are putting their reputation on the line. We're putting our reputation out there to provide, a curated and a validated set of awards and nominations that, are truly good and, have opportunity to make the world a better place and make a difference. And
Yeah,
when you look at what's happening out there, that's a positive trend, and I hope we can sort of this will snowball into much more.
And
totally.
I was talking. My son recently graduated college, and we got to talking. He's like, "Dad, what's stopping somebody from just going and buying a Harvard, diploma off the wall and sticking it on the wall,
Which
buying
you
it
can't
online?"
do
And there's
that today.
exactly, and there's literally nothing, and you could probably walk into most employers and show it to them, and they'd go, "Okay, great." And so it is what we're really doing is taking those plaques off the wall and putting them on the blockchain so that forever they're available and can be seen by the source that provided the original certificate. And that's really the important part, is that the brand or the college or the whatever the educational institution really is putting their brand behind that certificate, and that's what's on the line, right? And they've got to find a way to validate that and authenticate that so that you're not considered a scammer and fraud.
Yeah, and Russ, I would hope that the Harvard degree certificate is more authenticated. But yes, there's a whole ton of other things that people talk about and write about that all create the persona of the person that people are picking and choosing individuals for. And how is it that we also bring all of that into that authenticated realm? Um, let's talk about how all of this also translates to like social media and sharing. And by the way, we see almost like 30% more sharing as you also have these digital authentic awards because of the inherent properties of it. And Evan, maybe this question for you. How should both individuals and businesses be thinking about leveraging social media in this new era, and also differentiating like what's human, what's AI?
That's a good question because there is so much AI washing happening right now. Things that are called AI but really aren't AI. Bots are really taking over social media. We're seeing impersonation and fraud and cybercrime, frankly, at a record rate. And so I think one of the big trends for the next 5 years is going to be a big push for authenticity, for genuine human to human interaction and connection. And that means, we have to find a way to fight the fraud, the bots, the fakeness, the impersonation that's going to frankly be a tidal wave with Gen AI. I mean, you can create digital replicas of the three of us right now talking in an exact way that would look and feel like us. And so all of this move towards genuine, authentic uh, content and community is going to be imperative. And this is a great step in that direction.
Yeah, and all the drops add up, right, into then this graph of authenticated data. Russ, back to you. How do people even discover awards? Um, how should people prioritize awards events?
It's a great question. I spent 13 years trying to get the word out. um, and it's our biggest challenge. It always has been, just awareness. Social media is definitely helping, especially on LinkedIn. The community and engagement on LinkedIn has doubled, tripled, quadrupled in the last 2 years. So thank you, Microsoft, for taking that over. And there's some new hires, a new VP or CMO, I believe, came in, new CEO came in. So expect some great things there. It is, I spent, like Evan, 30 years doing corporate kind of B2B marketing, and I've seen how awards are done from behind the scenes, even before I started in my career. I've seen how awards are done, and it's less than authentic, and it's less than valid. And so we've tried to build a model that is transparent, open. You see who judges are. You can link into them. You can see them. You can see their faces. You can chat with them if you want. We never tell you who judged your program because we don't want you going after them. But other than that, you can see all the judges that are there. And And so when you're going after an awards program, you're spending money, you're investing time and resources in this, and you've really got to validate, who's out there doing, real work and real validation of these companies, and who's slapping a badge on something and taking your money, because there's plenty of those out there.
And one of the questions that came up from our LinkedIn users was, in fact, are you all really real? And which is mega.
No, I'm actually a bot. I must admit. You got me. I am a bot. I am a robot. But yeah, no, I mean it's a joke, of course, but it's a genuine, it's a real question, concern, not just in tech and award shows, but in life and politics, geopolitics. I mean, these are serious, difficult challenges, and we're going to have to start facing that. And some of the awards companies that will be nominated will be in, security and cyber and other areas where that's a real problem.
What's the criteria, Russ? How are we, and Evan, how do the criteria for these judging programs come together?
It's been under development by us for the 13 years. It really came down to a need of our first awards program. I got nominations and I was like, oh boy, now what do I do? We've got to find people to judge them. And so we asked for volunteers right away, and that's how we got started. It's a process to vet them. You've got to really go through and validate that they're real, authentic people, even on LinkedIn, even on Facebook and Twitter. I know you don't think so, but not everybody's real on those platforms. So we've got our own tools to go and validate people are people, and then put them into our program. And so it takes some time. And then what we'll also do is make sure that, we're getting good engagement from judges, and they're not kind of coming in for one program and getting out. We have not too many of those. Most people stick around and do 2 or 3, 4, 5 programs. We have judges that have been with us for years. And so that community just continues to grow, and the word gets out.
Yeah. And Russ, I was having a conversation with the CEO of the National Skills Development Foundation in India, and he was talking about why, even in judging skills and expertise, you shouldn't have to take a test to figure out what your skills are. The fact that they've been chosen with a very selective process to be a judge, they've been selected through a very selective process to win an award. All of that should count in that building of their skills profile and their skills passport, if you may. So again, very, very exciting. Is this a global initiative? Is this specific to a specific region? Where are the judges coming from? Where should the applications come from?
100% global. We are not limiting in any way. We have judges from all over the globe, from the brands that are in your pockets, on your desk, in your homes. It's really, again, it's been such a delight to see people volunteer from all over the world. And we have engineers and HR people and sales people and marketers and customer service people judging award programs. It's really a broad effort, and there's no, in my mind, there's no reason to select any company or any country or any region that's doing better than the other. We're trying to highlight the best of the best.
Amazing. And Evan, how are we factoring like Gen Z, and what are they looking for, both in terms of, how is it that companies are building products that caters to Gen Z, and also is Gen Z viewing this world of recognition differently?
Yeah, well, being a Gen X, it's kind of hard to relate, but I'll take a stab at it, having, Gen Z kids. I think they're looking for more mission-driven, technology, products, services, and solutions that, have some meaning, so I think that's important, to some real connection, and that's where social media comes in. I think products and services that they're not going to find on advertising. They're not looking at ads. They're not looking in traditional media. They want to discover products on social media or through peers, friends, or on the channels they're active on. And I think they're also pretty conscious of, impact, whatever environmental impact and sustainability and other areas around the product or services where, let's face it, us, Gen X and boomers haven't really cared much about those topics traditionally. So, it's a sea change, and to get ready for it.
Russ, are there new award programs that are coming together? What was the last one that was added? Is that a new one? How do you think about the right recognition programs?
We look for industries that are generally devoid of it. And tech isn't one, but we saw an opportunity in Evan's domain really to go after kind of this enterprise angle where, where these companies aren't those brands that you necessarily see at CES or in your pocket, but they're the brands behind the brands. It's the ones that make the internet work. It's the ones that make the lasers. It's the ones that make all the stuff and all the gear in every data center in the world. It's all that type of stuff, every conference room you're in. All that stuff is really the underpinnings of all this technology. And if you think about it, most of these companies we have in our consumer lives, there's 20, 30 companies of parts in that device. And those are the companies really that don't get much recognition. And we've talked a lot about companies and products. And I'd like to really say that the thing I'd love to see, especially with the We Love Tech Awards, is more human awards. There's whole categories for individuals. And so let's really make a spotlight on the people that are bringing those products to life, and the product managers, the innovators, the inventors. Let's get them out in the spotlight and get them, in the light to really shine some success on those folks. Because I've known a lot of those people over my career, and a lot of them get a pat on the back every once in a while, but they are not in the spotlight often. And they really deserve it, in my opinion.
That's awesome. What are the individual entries that one can make? Is it product leaders? What are the different categories that people should be aware of?
Yeah, in this program, there's an endless supply. So we're looking for the leaders in various different categories of technology. So it's up to the individuals to decide who in their organizations kind of deserve those awards. But we just posted a post, I think, on LinkedIn today or yesterday about recognition and how important it is. And I think, Karthika, you said a lot in the beginning of this about how important it is. Go take a look at those statistics again, because they're really impactful. You're talking about, just simple things of recognizing somebody in public or in private, patting them on the back, saying they did a great job, drives massive gains in productivity and massive gains in profits. And it's been proven by the Harvards and everybody else in the business cases. And yet we seem, some companies and some organizations and leaders are great at it. In my history, it's maybe a 50-50 shot if you're in an organization that does it well. And 50-50 is probably pretty generous.
So true, so true. And so we have about 10 more minutes. This session has flown by. Audience, if there are any questions for Evan, even if it is on the different incredible topics that he's been covering in his podcast recently. And by the way, if you haven't seen the podcast show that Evan and I did together, deep diving into authenticity, do look at that as well. But any questions for Evan, any questions for Russ on his journey, please type it in and we'll be sure to try weave that in. But Russ, how do people, we have been talking a lot about the external awards, right? We are talking about Big Intelligence Group, the Stevies, the Fortune, that whole category, Inc., all that whole category. How should people think about the internal recognition side, right? There are leaders who are tuning in, who are people leaders, HR leaders, and just double click on the point that you just made about how important recognition is and what should they take away?
Yeah, I early in my career, very early in my career, I got an Employee of the Year award. And it was like a kick in the pants, right? I mean, it's just such an enabler. You're just so motivated by that. And because it was so unexpected too. I never thought, I was a very junior person, new to a company, and I got an Employee of the Year award. And it was so meaningful to me that it was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
You're fresh out of college or fresh out of school, you're in a first job, and somebody comes by and just goes, man, you're doing a great job. That is so meaningful and so impactful especially in young careers. And so the biggest thing to me is, and that company actually did a very good job at internal recognition. If I could leave with one word for all the leaders listening, is consistency. You can't start it and stop it. You've got to start it and expand it. It's got to be something you do every month, every quarter, every day, whatever your cadence is, you just have to be consistent. So people are expecting it. They're looking forward to it. They understand that it's coming. And they can work towards those goals of becoming the employee of the month or employee of the quarter or top achiever or whatever it is. And we spend a lot of times rewarding salespeople in this domain. You know, you're the top achiever, you're going to sales clubs because you met your goal. Everybody behind that sales team met their goals too. And so you need to make sure that those people are getting the recognition they deserve.
So important. And Russ, I'm going to, like, one, do you still have the award with you? And, you know, it wouldn't, like, what if it was digital? You know, that's question one.
It's not with me. And that is a huge opportunity for you, for Verex, is get those awards off the wall, get them into LinkedIn, get them to whatever social platform you have, and make sure people see them. I mean, these internal awards, they shouldn't be kept internal. They should be put external. These employees, that's their asset, right? It is their asset to take with them for the rest of their lives. And, you know, at the bottom of my resume somewhere, it does say Dallas Business Journal Employee of the Year. I won't go into the 1990s, but it's there, but there's no way to validate it. But I'll tell you, it was real.
No, awesome. And by the way, what if that digital award also had that message from that person who said, what a great job, and you had that message and that video and that recognition, and you could keep it for life?
Well, his name is Alex Orfinger, and he's still the publisher of the Washington Business Journal. So we can shout out to him and thank him for giving me that kick in the pants and giving me the confidence to go do this and everything else that I've done.
Oh my God, this is so special, and again, speaks to the power of recognition and awards. Evan, final question for you. You know, as you think about the podcast speakers that you select and you work with, you have a choice of selecting many people. And all, you know, what are the traits? What is it that you look for in what you want to spotlight? Because for me, that's also going to translate into what is it that you're going to spotlight in the people that you're recognizing and the awards that We Love Tech Awards is going to spotlight.
Yeah, I love people who have, you know, personal and professional missions. They're mission driven. I mean, I talked to a physician yesterday. He's a physician entrepreneur who's building an AI app to recognize opportunities to stop medical misdiagnosis that kills tens of thousands in the U.S. alone each year. And so he was on that mission because he lost a brother to a misdiagnosed cancer diagnosis, and he decided to devote his personal professional life to building this app. So that's pretty heavy stuff. It doesn't always have to be heavy, but if someone who's on a mission to solve a problem or to help a customer or to make someone's life funner, more interesting or better, or to educate or to inform, anyone who's on a mission, I just love that. And so I hope we can find those kind of thought leaders, those leaders out there who are on whatever mission they're on.
Awesome. Well, Ranjit asks us, he calls the fact that peer recognition is also really important. And I don't know how that factors into your recognition programs. And then there's also a question of, the LinkedIn endorsements, do they factor in? Are they worthy? Are they given importance? So I don't know if there are any views on both peer recognition and if that's a component of how you think about your awards.
We haven't done anything on the peer-to-peer side. We have some work on that front being done now with a great advisory board for a new awards program that we'll be bringing out later this year that really does get to the recognition kind of for recognition's sake, for patting people on the back. And it's going to be, I hope amazing. I'm not going to reveal too many details about it here as we wrap it up and try to button up that program. But it really is trying to get more about the the feel-good nature of giving somebody praise and the nature of taking that praise and doing it in just a very meaningful way on social so that it's public. And so we'll have some news on that here in the next month or so.
Well, that is a cliffhanger if there is one. But Raz, any final words on Beyond the Trophy, Authenticity, Humanity, and Digital Awards?
No, just join the community. Get in one of these programs. It doesn't have to be, We Love Tech. It can be any of them. Get involved. Get on LinkedIn and get involved. Share your voice. It's so important. Evan and I, are good at helping each other out and commenting on each other's posts and liking each other's stuff. Comments are worth 4 times as much as likes. Share your voice, have a voice. We want to hear it. We want to hear the stories. We want to hear all that stuff. That's what makes us unique. That's what's going to differentiate us from AI too.
Yeah. Well, another question. Well, the questions are pouring in, so if we can just keep going for a few more minutes, and we'll still try to close, very close to time. What do your peers think of your perspective?
I'll leave that one to Evan.
Well, yeah, no, I have a great network of other media journalists, analysts, thought leaders, influencers. And as Russ said, we're all supporting each other. And some of these folks are award-winning authors, others have their own podcasts, and there are, others are thought leaders within companies that are really leading the way. And so, yeah, everyone's super excited about the awards program. So we're all trying to make it a huge success.
Awesome. There was a question about past awards too, which reminded me of a conversation I had with a very senior executive a few weeks ago, where he said Wikipedia had written to his PR team and said, these 5 accomplishments and awards that are listed, can we get like proof of on that accomplishment? And the person goes, this happened like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like, how am I going to do it? So for everyone who's getting an award, like making sure you have that authenticity behind it, like demand it. And because that is where the world is going, and you never know when you're going to be asked for some proof of accomplishment.
Including areas like medical qualifications and medical credentials. There's a huge problem in fraud in that area. And there frankly are people who are making up credentials, as sort of Russ alluded to. So yes, the future is verified, validated recognition and credentials. Very exciting.
Awesome. On that note, Evan, Russ, thank you for joining, and a quick rapid fire. So Evan, do you like the researching or the publishing, the writing about it? Which drives your passion?
I love the researching. I love discovering. I love finding new things, new inventions. I'm completely addicted to social media. And for all the negative side of social, it's a great place for learning and discovery and finding new ideas. And what an amazing community. Even if you dissociate 90% of the nonsense that happens on social media, there's just a lot of pure gold out there that's worth discovering.
Awesome. And Russ, for you, is it the judging process or is it the actual awarding process?
The awarding process is tops for sure. That's where all the great story comes in. I mean, we hear great stories from both sides of the house. It's just we get to talk about more of the winners' stories, which maybe is an opportunity for me to go back and tell more of those judges' stories. But people are people, and they're all interesting. You just have to get to know them.
Awesome. All right. With that, thank you everyone for joining Beyond the Trophy, Authenticity, Humanity, and Digital Awards. We are real. The need for recognition is real. Don't miss the opportunity to submit your application, whether you're an individual or a company too. We love Tech Awards, and we this community look forward to seeing all the nominees and all of the winners, and let's make this all real. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karthika.